Hello, everybody. I'm Marco. I'm ultra runner, but also reporter. And today we have an amazing interview with a runner from the United States. The name is Kaytlyn Gerbin. Welcome, Kaytlyn. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you
Hi.
doing?
Yeah, quite fine here. So I thank you first very much that you have the time to speak with us and to be with us here.
Of course. No, I'm excited to talk to you. It's kind of a fun thing during this hard time that we can connect with people all over the world right now. So it's fun to see you.
That's great. So let me ask you. Maybe you can present yourself a little bit to your community. Where do you coming from?
Yeah. So you said I'm from the United States, and I live in a smaller suburb just outside of Seattle, Washington. And so that's up in the Pacific Northwest region, really close to Canada, actually. So I'm about an hour and a half away from the Canadian border, and live in a really nice community that has, it's close to the city. So I still work in the city. So you kind of have access to the more city lifestyle and jobs there. But then we also have lots of smaller mountains right kind of in my backyard. So I have trails that I can run on. And then just a little bit further to the east, we have a big mountain range called the Cascades. So there's lots of opportunity for fun things to
Great,
do.
great. So you are living in an area where there's also mountains there. So for mountain lovers, it's good. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's there's a lot of people I think who move to this area because it has a good mixture of jobs and city and mountain outdoor life too.
Nice, very cool. So tell us your hobbies. What are you doing apart from running? What do you like?
Apart from running, well, is it hobbies right now or hobbies normally? Because my hobbies right now are quite a bit different, just with kind of the current situation. So I'd say, before this time, I really, other than running, I love kind of anything I can do in the mountains. And so I do a lot of backcountry skiing and climbing and mountaineering, and just kind of any way of exploring outside, which is really fun for me. But right now, I'm kind of picking up some new hobbies just to stay energized and excited while we are a little bit more restricted. So I've been doing some puzzles, which I normally don't don't do, and I also really enjoy cooking, but I don't always have time to do it in normal life. So because I'm at home more now, I'm doing some more kind of fancy cooking. So.
That's great. So usually you're doing also other outdoor sports beside of running. Yeah, it's a complementation, right?
Yes. Yep.
Very
And I
nice.
don't see it necessarily as cross training. It's just kind of my preference for what I enjoy doing. So I definitely like to, if I can, switch a training run and instead go skiing or something. So.
Okay. And let's say beside running, you're still working, right? I think you are a
Yes.
biotechnical engineer or
Yes, exactly. Yep. I do scientific research. And so I'm at a nonprofit research institute that's in Seattle. And that's
nice.
actually what brought me out to Seattle area. So I grew up and spent most of my life in the Midwest region of the United States. And that's no mountains, a lot of farming land, a lot of dairy products. And I loved it there. But I moved out to Seattle area about 9 years ago for graduate school and kind of moved here and decided I loved it. So now I'm still here.
Perfect. Great. And could you tell us when did you started running?
So I started actually, like, kind of growing up, always really enjoyed sports and did team sports and was always really active outside. But I didn't really enjoy running for, like, I think many of us who didn't grow up as runners. Running is kind of a punishment that you do when you're in a team sport and you have to run laps or something. So I didn't really start to enjoy running until about maybe 10 years ago. And at that time I was in university and I was in a new city. And so I kind of was just running a little bit for fun, kind of enjoying exploring the new city. And actually, I know you're in Spain right now, and a lot of your audience is in Europe. And when I was in university, I spent 6 months in Spain at a university there. And some really good memories of mine from there were when I was just kind of running through the city to kind of see the sights and kind of run down the old streets and everything. So I really enjoyed that. But actually at that time I was never running on trails, and I didn't have access to mountains. And so I didn't really start trail running until about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And why you have started with running?
Yeah, so I think when we were in Spain, I told you a little bit about this. So in my university, I had a friend who she had another friend, so it's kind of a few people removed, who took this class that was offered as kind of a fun class that you could get credits for through the physical education department, and you could take 2 credits, a class called Introduction to Distance Running. So I signed up for this class, and at that point I was running, maybe 30 minutes to 1 hour just for fun, kind of around the city. And that was the most that I was running. And so for me, distance, I thought maybe I could complete a half marathon or something like that. But on the first day of the course, then the professor told us that, no, if you want to pass the class, you need to run a marathon. And so that was kind of like, wow, never thought that was even possible to do that. And so I think that is really the reason why I found then a community of classmates through the course, and I found training partners, and we all kind of were together going towards this goal that at the time no one thought was even possible to run that far. And so it took me a while actually to run a marathon first, but once I did, I decided I actually really enjoyed the training and the build up and how much time it takes, I think, to really go through a training plan for a road marathon. So I started doing marathons just here and there. And I did one when I still lived in the Midwest. And then when I moved to Seattle, I did some of the marathons that were in like the Seattle City Marathon. Portland in Oregon is really close. And so I did their Portland marathon and a few Boston Marathon, actually I did too. So I did a few marathons, but throughout all of those times, it was never really something that I was just doing it for fun. I was never anywhere near the lead pack. It was kind of so far removed from me. The people who were winning the races were an hour ahead of me or more, right, every time. So it was just something kind of that I did for fun, and I never considered myself to be a good runner. I just kind of thought I was a decent athlete that could go and run a marathon, which is definitely a big deal. But I think it's kind of crazy to think about how it hasn't been all that far, or hasn't been all that long since I was first just running marathons, and now I'm running 100 miles and in a totally different place as an athlete. So I think it's crazy how much things can change.
Yeah, but it's also nice to show that if somebody wants something, everything also is possible. Maybe with a lot of work and dedication, it is possible to grow and develop in such a position which you are now.
Yeah. I think like you said, like it's with a lot of hard work, but also finding the love for it. And if you find something like that, like whether it's running or some other sport that you just do it and it feels so natural and you just really enjoy it, then I think it's sometimes easier to put the hard work in and the dedication, because it just becomes a passion.
Okay, so now it is your passion, I understand, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, you need to love it. So many hours in the mountains, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really love racing, but I think I race, as one part of what I do, but most of my time is just spent running. And I don't, I definitely train hard and work really hard. But I think I try to not always put so much pressure on every run as a really important training run, because I still just love running and love being in the mountains. And so I try to first enjoy it. And then second, make sure that it's the training that I need.
Yeah, it's many what also other athletes said, like, for example, Luca Papi or Pau Capel also mentioned, if they have fun in the race or running, or if they're happy, then they run good. Yeah, the happiness also in this, and they are better, right?
Yeah, I totally agree, but I think also every race you always are going to be a little bit unhappy. So maybe to be happy knowing that you will be unhappy, but then it will get better and you'll be happy again.
Okay. Yeah. Now we will also speak about the, let's say, the happy moments and let's say the more bad moments. So why you decided to run mountains and not just asphalt, just normal street running?
Yeah,
Why
so
mountains?
I said that I grew up in a place that didn't have any mountains nearby. And so once I moved to the West Coast where there were mountains kind of in my backyard, I was running these road marathons just kind of for fun, as I said, but at the same time, I was also really starting to explore other things in the mountains. And so I started doing a lot. I had always been doing snowboarding before, but I started really doing a lot more kind of backcountry touring. So split boarding, and also just started skiing too. So a lot of kind of backcountry things in the mountains. Then I was backpacking, hiking, camping, and all these things that actually I did as a kid growing up. Although it was always just kind of in the woods next to a lake, and it was flat with my family. And so I think I just started to really enjoy everything that you could do in the mountains. I felt just alive there, and it took a little while for me to realize that I could take the running I was doing on the road and do that in the mountains, because I wasn't involved in any trail running community. I didn't have any friends that were trail runners. I had heard of, people doing ultra runs, but at that point I thought that marathons were hard enough, and I didn't think that going further was something that I was interested in. And it kind of just took, I remember I was out for a hike with my husband one time in the Cascade Mountains, and we saw a runner come down. We were hiking up this really steep trail, and a runner just came running, like flying down, and he looked like he was having so much fun. And I, earlier in that hike, was thinking, I'm hiking, but I really need to do a run later today. I would love to go for a run when I get back to the city. But my run was going to be just on kind of flat pavement around my house. And so then I see this guy running down, and I think like that kind of was the moment I was like, why am I not doing that here? Like I could run here. And right. But I think if you don't know anyone in that community, and you don't have those kind of influences, that I didn't even really know that was a whole sport that I could really do. So after that, then I signed up for a trail 50K race, and started using that as an excuse to kind of get out to the trails more and do some of my runs on trails. Although at the time I was still living in the middle of Seattle, and Seattle had some really great urban parks. So there are trails, within the city that you can access, but it's still not in the mountains. And so most of my running then, for many years actually, I would be running during the week just in the city, and usually I was running to and from work, and so short runs, a couple days a week, and then one day a week I would drive out to the mountains and do a training run in the mountains. But I kind of really started to love running on the trails.
For example, I started also with small 5 kilometer race, 10, 15, half marathon, and then I made some trail races about 15, 20 kilometers, and then suddenly I met a guy in one of the smaller races, and I said, yeah, he's running also ultras, and he told me about races about 100 kilometers or 100 miles, and I couldn't imagine it, and I say, how you can do it? And he told me, we became very good friends, and now he's my trainer also.
That's awesome. I have kind of a similar experience, that after my first 50K race, and at that time I thought, oh, this is so hard, I'm never going to do this again. The people kind of started leaving, and everyone was kind of cheering for people finishing the race. And at the end, there was a bonfire, and people had beer, and we were just kind of chatting with people. And one of the guys started telling me then about, he ran a 50-mile race, and he ran a 100-mile race, and he kind of started telling me about all these different kind of long ultras. And it was, he's an incredible athlete, but not not someone who's like an elite or winning races or anything. And I think it was very special to be able to hear for my first time about people running these races. And the first person I met was my friend Ian, who had been doing these things. And now we've become really good friends, and he's helped crew me for races like Western States before and stuff. So, but it takes someone, I think, sometimes to tell you like, oh yeah, like I'm doing these things and you can do it too. So
yeah, I brought you here something. Yeah.
okay.
Maybe you can check it. Maybe you remember this.
Yeah.
I have my here. I brought it also, so for the community to explain it. Yeah. So to explain to the people, we met us already in Spain. Yeah, in the Transgrancanaria Ultra Trail race, about 128 kilometers with 7,500 positive elevation. So Kaytlyn won the race, and myself, I finished. I finished also. So and in good health. So this was my target. Yeah.
Congratulations on your finish. Actually, I haven't seen you since before the race.
Yeah. So first of all, congratulations to you for your big victory.
Thank you.
And how many hours did you do?
Oh boy, I think it was about 15 hours and some minutes. Don't remember.
Yeah, that's why we didn't see us, because I came around 14 hours later than you.
Oh no. I think that you probably had to be out for that much longer. It was so hot, and your feet probably are just killing you, and all of the rocks at the end, like that's hard.
It was 20. I did the 29 hours 20 or something like this. And to explain to everybody also the race there, it was a warm day. So when we ran in for the night, we had some rain, and during the day it was quite hot. Yeah, so I climbed the big climb to Roque Nublo. I climbed it in the afternoon, so it was hot, and there was many runners left the course. So there was 38% of people who left the race. So it was, let's say, a very difficult race.
Yeah. I think the second half of the course is a lot harder than it looks like, because if you look at the elevation profile of the course, basically up until Roque Nublo, you're kind of going up, 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 up. So it looks like the hardest part is the first half when it's up. But then, and on the profile, which you have on your bib, actually, they put the profile on the bib, right? It goes down. So you think, it just goes down. So you think, oh, okay, we're just running downhill and that should be easy. But there's actually a lot of climbs still in the last 50K. And that part gets so hot too, because you're then on the south side of the island, and it's just kind of the direct sun and really dry, dusty trail. No trees really after Roque Nublo. So yeah, it's a challenging course. And I think like many people, I think, get surprised by that at the end.
And when, you did, when did you took the lead of the race?
So I had been just a few minutes behind Asara, the Spanish runner, and I'd been kind of like throughout the night, just a few minutes behind her at every moment, every checkpoint. And then I finally saw her actually as we were getting up to Roque Nublo. So finally so Roque Nublo, as you just mentioned, is kind of the high point of the race. And there's also that kind of short out and back section. So you actually overlap with runners for a few minutes right there. And it was kind of this very iconic, special moment, because for the first time we see each other as we're about to go up to that high point. And it's so scenic there. And there's a lot of photographers and media people kind of up at the top. And they see Asara come up, the first place woman, and everyone is cheering and really excited. And then they see me coming right behind, and then everyone's like, oh no, because it's like a race happening like right in front of their eyes. So that was kind of exciting. And then Asara and I actually ran together for a while after that. And I was really hoping to, I mean, we talked a little bit about this. I think we both were kind of trying to help pull each other along because it was getting hot and challenging, and both of us were running really similar pace for, you know, the last couple hours. And so at that point, there's still so much time left in the day that, you know, we are kind of like, okay, like let's go, because we were both pushing so much. And I think working together, sometimes you can really push even harder. So we were trying to do that, but then there ended up being a lot of people on the course for the marathon distance, and it was a little bit chaotic for a while on the trail, and we kind of lost contact with each other, and then found each other again, and then lost contact again, and then I just kind of was, you know, at that point. So technically, I guess I went into the lead at Roque Nublo, but we were both kind of running together for at least a few kilometers through Gagneron aid station, the next checkpoint, and a little ways after that too.
Nice. And from your point of view, which was the hardest moments you had in Transgrancanaria race?
For me, the hardest was towards the end. And so the last about 10 kilometers, maybe last 15 kilometers or so, there's the dry riverbed that you run through, and it's at the bottom of this canyon. And at that time, for me, it was mid-afternoon, so really hot. And it's also these kind of like really big rocks that are very awkwardly spaced and awkward size. And so it's hard to, especially when your legs are so tired, it's really challenging to run there. And I kind of made a mistake, I think, earlier in the day with my nutrition and hydration, because I'd been doing really good all day, just eating, making sure I'm eating and drinking the right amount. And then kind of, I think, due to all of the people on the course, when I got to the high point and then coming down, it was a lot of, I don't know, it was challenging for me because I was trying to pass a lot of people.
I need to pass like this, yeah?
Yeah, so kind of constantly passing people, and it was also really dusty. And so it became hard to focus on my fueling, my race strategy, passing people, still being polite, you know, because everyone is there racing. And of course, like, they don't know that I'm coming from the long distance course because I'm coming behind them. And also, you know, they don't need to care because they're also doing their own challenging race too. So I was trying to, you know, be as respectful as possible, but also still race. And so I was putting, I think, a lot of energy into that. And as a result, I, you know, didn't do the best job at my fueling and hydration. And so when I finally got to the really hot part on the course, that was the section where I knew I was so close to the finish. So I really wanted to, you know, run as hard as I could and just as good as well as I could to make sure that no one would catch me. But then that was the moment when I was feeling the worst. And so I actually was kind of had to slow down and stop a few times and try to just kind of regather myself. But that was definitely the most challenging part.
And what did you like most?
My favorite moment was when I was coming up the climb from Artenara, between Artenara and Tejeda. That we're probably like the two most scenic towns, I think, on the course. And the timing for me, I was coming up right as the sun was rising. And so I was getting up to this pass where actually, so Roque Nublo is the high point, but there's this pass called Cruz de Tejeda that is kind of like this point in the...
These pine woods, yeah, where you go up and you see Roque Nublo in the horizon, right?
Yes, you can. So you can finally see all of the rest of the course. You can see the beach on the south side, but you can also look up and see the beach on the north side too. So you can basically see the whole island from this point. And I was coming up right as the sun was rising. And it was this just absolutely kind of magical moment. Actually, like, you know, sometimes you get emotional during the races and enjoy it. I was almost like getting teary-eyed because I was just so happy to be there. And it just felt like a really special moment. So that was definitely one of my favorites. And another thing that made that so special was because I had been able to come out to the island for a few days before the course. And so I spent, I think, 2 or 3 days in Tejeda at the small hostel just by myself, and so I was kind of familiar already with that area. So for a kind of small moment, it felt like I was kind of back home, even though that was only home for 2 days. It still felt like, very magical to come with sunrise and see, a familiar area. And then you could see Roque Nublo, and you kind of know at that point, like, okay, like it's now a new day.
You know what was special also for me when I arrived in this big canyon, and where all the stones are, I suffered also a lot. I mean, this 29 hours was also very not easy for me. First, the hotness, yeah, and then for me also the last marathon was in the night, so we had to be careful, because for sure there was very hard descent, so we needed to be careful and take again back the motivation, and it was not easy, but I enjoyed it a lot. For me, it was also special as when we met in this press conference. I was with the other guys. We made the interviews outside, and I didn't meet you outside. And then I saw you inside the hotel lobby. I saw you sitting and eating there. And when we made also interview, and then what I understood in the next day when I saw the winner, I say, "Hey, I made the interview with the winner of the race."
It was lucky that you found me then, I guess.
Yeah, because I saw you inside in the lobby and say, I saw you look like a runner, but I didn't understand why you was not outside. So I was thinking in the next day, yes, I made the interview already with the winner of the race.
You're one of the only people, actually.
Yeah. So very nice. So I think this gives you also much more publicity, to win this race. I think also in Europe, as one part of this ultra trail world tour. And I say you did also the Western States, which is also a big race in the US, right?
Yep. I've done that race actually the last 3 years in a row.
Wow. Because here many people dream to do it also, Western States, one time in their, let's say, in their life, like for example the UTMB here in Chamonix. Also one is Western States, or like Berkeley, I don't know.
That's, I think, I know more people who are trying to get a lottery ticket for Western States than they are like to run any other race. It's a really amazing historic race, and it's really challenging to get into the race just because of the permitting. I mean, they only allow, I think, 360, somewhere around 360 or so runners every year. And so compared to a lot of the European races, I think, where you can allow thousands of runners, it just is much more tricky to get an entry into the race. But if you get the opportunity to, it's amazing. And I think a kind of a cool aspect of that race and a lot of other US races is because you can have a pacer and crew. So even if one person gets into the race, you can bring, as many people as you want, maybe your closest friends and training partners to help, kind of be involved in the race. And for me, like, I really, really enjoy helping other people kind of accomplish their race like that. And even without running, you still really feel like you're a part of the race. And so actually I was not planning to run the race this year. I was going to take a break from it. Just because I've done it the last few years, but I was planning to help pace and crew for a friend and a owner of a local running shop here. And for me, I was really looking forward to that just because there's so much energy and excitement, and you're really, really helping the runner. So you feel like you're also kind of running the race, except it's a lot less painful and you don't have to run as much.
Okay. And in your point of view, which is your favorite race you did so far, or which you like most?
Oh, that's such a hard question, because I think I've done so many different kinds of races that every race has kind of its own special thing that I really enjoy. So, I mean, I just did Transgrancanaria, and I really love that race. It was my second time doing it, and I think the island is beautiful. The people are awesome. It's a really good international community, and the course is scenic, but also really hard. So I would love to, come back and do that race again sometime, and maybe bring my husband or my family or something to come and experience the island. But there's also races like Western States is an amazing race for a lot of the reasons I just said. So that's a really special one. But I also, have done a lot of kind of smaller local races, kind of in my local area in the United States, and there's some favorites I have there just because of the community and the scenery and the trails.
For like a race, such a big race like Transgrancanaria, Western States, how do you prepare for it? Do you have a trainer or a training plan, or do you do it by yourself?
No, I don't have any trainer or coach. I actually have never had a running coach except for my professor in that class 10 years ago. Yeah, so I definitely will ask friends for advice, and I kind of have a community of friends that I will get feedback from when I'm thinking about different races. But I think for me, like, I've really learned by not having a coach, like I've really learned to just listen to my body and make sure that I'm kind of constantly checking in. And so when I'm deciding how hard or how easy to run, I'm not consulting a plan that was written for me. I'm just thinking, okay, how do I feel today? What can I do? And we mentioned about me having a job before, and how most of the years that I've been running, I've been having a really demanding, job that I'm also trying to balance with my training. And I think I already have enough stress and structure sometimes from that I like to keep the running fun. And I always think, like, regardless of how competitive you are in races, or how long or short your races that you're training for, you can only really do the best you can with the time that you have. And I think that's kind of a good motto even now, as we're, many of us in different parts of the world are stuck inside or having races canceled and things, is like just being able to figure out, like, okay, what do I have available right now, and what can I do? And available is, what do you have access to, but what do you have the energy for? What are you having fun doing right now? And I think just kind of listening to, learning to listen and trust yourself through that can be really, really good. So that's kind of my approach.
Because it's interesting, because I mean, you're working and you're running apart. I mean, there's runners, they are doing that 100%, so you're combining both things every day. Yeah, I mean, you're not, let's say, I mean, it's special because you are working and you're running. You're not making, you don't just run. Yeah, so would it be an option for you to be 100% runner, or would you like always also to share it with a normal job?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely consider that, and it's actually something that I was kind of planning to, not 100% running, but switch a little bit more, just because with one big limitation for me is just availability to travel and vacation days and things for racing. So I was actually kind of preparing this year to make a little bit of a change for that, so that I have a little bit more time to travel, and also be able to spend some more time in Europe. But of course, things are a little bit up in the air right now. But I do also think, like, I really love working as a scientist, and I think that it's important for me. I mean, everyone has their own kind of values for this, but it's important for me to have something else that's not running that I'm making a contribution towards, because I think it helps keep a balance. And of course, sometimes the balance is really crazy and there's no such thing as the balance, but other times it's nice to be able to not just have all day where I, I'm able to run, but I also am, thinking and working and kind of working with the team and doing research and things. So that's something that for me, I really like, and it kind of keeps me grounded and helps me keep running as something that's fun and not feeling too much like a job.
And you're running for the North Face team, so you're in a running team, right?
Yep. Yeah. I'm really excited about this because I just joined on with North Face this year, and I'm sure, you know, as things kind of settle back, we'll get back into a normal schedule of things. But even so far, since we've all been kind of at home, we've been doing a lot of athlete team meetings over video and calls and happy hours and things. And so it's a really good group of athletes and a good community. So that's fun. And I met actually I'd met some of these people before, but at Transgrancanaria, there are actually quite a few of the North Face athletes that had really good races. So Pau, who shared the win with Pablo Villa, he's a North Face athlete. Dylan Bowman, who got third, and then Fernanda Maciel, who I'm sure many of your audience know. She's awesome, and she was also there at Transgrancanaria too.
Yeah, it's amazing. You just joined the team and made already a victory.
It was good timing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it was I think very good. Yeah, so very fast, and you made a very good job. Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
just a last question for our people. What would you recommend if somebody would like to start in this ultra running distances? What should he do?
So I think the first thing is just trust that you actually can do this, because it seems a little bit crazy, I think, from the outside, but it's just incredible what you can get your body to do if you believe in it. So first, just that. Make sure it's still fun. Don't take it too seriously, especially at the beginning. And I think also finding a small community of people that can help give you advice and go meet you for training runs and things is really helpful. Because especially, like, I think there are people maybe who have never done trail running, but they already run on the roads. And so then learning kind of the right trail etiquette and where should they run, what kinds of things should you bring with you when you go on a trail run? How do you prepare for a race differently than a road race? Like, there's all those kinds of questions that I think if you have people that are, you know, friends that can give you advice, that's really good. And the other thing is there's probably a lot of people who are even now, like, who are rock climbers or skiers or backpackers or hikers that don't normally do a lot of running because they're always doing other things. And maybe now is a time that they're finding that they want to start doing a bit more running because they can't do other things. And I think then that's a little bit different too. But again, having some resources from people that can just kind of get you on the right track is really, really helpful.
Perfect. So I would like first to thank you, for your time that you're with us and that you took the time to speak, because this ultra running distance is very special to have somebody like you who did it, and so on such a high level also. So from my side, thank you very much. I would like to give to you, the last word. You can say what you like, maybe what you like to anybody, or dedicate some words. It's your turn.
Yeah, well, I guess thanks for inviting me on the show. Like I said, this is fun, and I know right now is a pretty hard time for almost all of us, and it's challenging in different ways. And I think it's hard to settle into a schedule and kind of adjust to this new life. So I just want to say, like, I have really appreciated being able to stay connected to the community through doing things like this. And, I guess as we're all kind of going through different things, just know that everyone's also struggling, and it's okay. And, we'll get through this, and stay connected and stay inspired and find different ways to keep yourself motivated, I guess.
Perfect. So thank you very much, and bye-bye. Thank you. See you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you.
Bye-bye.